For those of you who don't know as much about astrology, your rising sign is kind of the starting point of your chart. In my opinion, it's one of the most important parts of your entire chart because your rising sign is the filter that you move through the world with, and it's the perspective you have on the world, and it shapes people's first impressions of you. It shapes how you initiate things, and it really shapes the energy that people pick up on right away from you. So, thinking about that more in a professional setting, knowing that about yourself and knowing how you show up and how you naturally come across in meetings or interviews or leadership roles, when you have that awareness, you can lean into the strengths of that first impression. And you can also catch yourself if that's not the energy that you're wanting to lead with in whatever room that.
And talking about the skeptics, right? Some people dismiss this astrology entirely. So, what do you say to them, especially who are in the science and medical community who dismiss astrology entirely?
I actually love skepticism and, being a nurse practitioner myself. I think it's a really good thing because if people are skeptics, it means they're asking questions and they're thinking about it and they're trying to lend perspective to it.
Do you use astrology to hire, lead, or coach your team, or maybe for your clients as well?
For me in particular, I love knowing the people around me, their Mercury sign, because that is how you communicate. And communication is so huge to me, and being able to work together, like that's just an integral part of the day to day.
So, folks, you have tuned into TGV and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the world's only quadrilingual podcast at this moment of recording. And we are trying to embark into multiple languages as we speak. And here we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. And we want to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host, Navin Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in.
So, folks, we are joined by Sarah Michelle Boes. She's a nurse practitioner, entrepreneur, and astrology enthusiast. As the founder of Sarah Michelle NP Reviews and chief nursing officer at Blueprint Test Prep, she blends clinical excellence with cosmic insight. And through her podcast, Cosmic Group Chat, she demystifies astrology as a practical tool for personal and professional transformation. So, Sarah, hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing so well, and I'm so excited to have this conversation about how to use astrology in your everyday life.
Absolutely. So that is wonderful topic to discuss. So before we get started, let us get into a quick rapid fire round. I'm going to tickle your brain first. Okay. So if you're ready,
Right.
let's get started with the first rapid fire round. So I'm going to mention a few words, and as and when something is mentioned, you need to respond without thinking much. And if you're ready, let's get started.
All right.
Hello, I'm Steve Ahern, one of the judges of the Asia Podcast Awards. I'm interrupting this episode to let you know that you're listening to an award-winning podcast. This podcast won its category in the 2024 Podcast Awards, so you know you're listening to quality. Enjoy your listening experience, and congratulations to the team who created this award-winning podcast for you.
Okay. My first word is curiosity.
The reason I never stay stuck in one version of myself.
Love it. Invention.
I think for this one, it's how I've had to approach business. It's how I've had to approach my mental health journey. So a lot of figuring it out as I go.
Future.
It's something you create.
Wow. Universe.
I think the universe is a great reminder that we're all part of something a little bit bigger than ourselves, whatever that thing is.
Leadership.
Definitely knowing your strengths and knowing your blind spots.
Success.
Peace of mind and not just the milestones.
Astrology.
Astrology for me is absolutely a language of patterns.
Language of patterns. Wow. And then life.
Certainly something you can't control, but you can choose how you respond to it.
Career.
Career is really a place where I feel like astrology has given me some extra clarity on direction.
Awesome. And it comes the last word, aliens.
You know, if there's aliens, they're probably looking at us like we're the experiment. So that's what I'll wrap up on aliens.
And then we are also aliens to them. Amazing. So thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round. There is one more rapid fire round towards the end of the episode. So stay tuned. And thank you once again for being part of our journey in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. So let's get the ball rolling with the main questions. And so Sarah, talk to us about who is your guiding voice.
I really think that my guiding voice is my own intuition. I think that inner voice for me has really pushed me to take some risks that I might not have otherwise taken. You know, I have left healthcare, I have built a business, I'm now deep diving astrology, which can feel a little strange coming from a nurse practitioner. But I feel like that little voice in me is just like, this is what you're supposed to be doing right now. So I very much lean into the timing piece.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And also share your success mantra, as in top three things that have contributed to your success so far.
For me, and this actually ties into my astrology a bit because I'm a Sagittarius rising, which we can talk about later. But for me, number one is curiosity. I'm always willing to learn and I always want to learn too, which is something that I love about astrology because I feel like I could learn forever and not know it all. And then beyond curiosity, which really like fuels my life, is resilience. There's so much resilience that comes from the mental health journey that I have lived to get to this point, but also building the business that I built before this point. And then maybe even like top on the list, maybe these aren't even ranked, but I love thinking about authenticity. I think it's very much contributed to my success. Like I am who I am and I don't show up as anyone different. And so I very much want to show up for people in a way of this is my real story and not just the highlight reel of my story. And I think people connect when you tell the real story.
Yeah, absolutely. Authenticity is something rarely seen these days, but there are very few people out there. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm really curious to understand like what sparked your transition from burnout to blending business and astrology.
I think when people think about burnout, they think about being really tired and exhausted. And
Yeah.
I was tired and exhausted, but I really felt like I was kind of like losing myself in the process. And so for me, what astrology gave me was it helped me name what I was experiencing. There's a lot of
Hmm.
power that comes from just being able to name the thing. And then I feel like it also has given me some really just practical, tangible ways to reset. And so for me, it was really like the difference between pushing harder, but and also like learning how to actually work with myself and my setup and who I am instinctually as a person.
Hmm. Yeah. And you mentioned astrology as a practical tool. So can you give a real life example of how it has helped you or someone make a critical decision?
Sometimes I think like it doesn't even have to be a big, massive critical decision. I can think of a few, but I think what I love about astrology is using it kind of like in the everyday ways to build capacity and have more compassion for yourself. I love using it as a mental health tool. And so the very first thing that comes to mind, hands down, is a few weeks ago, we were in the midst of Mercury Retrograde. And for those of you who are unaware, Mercury is the planet of communication and tech. And so when Mercury is retrograde, that means we have some glitches and some things going on that maybe we don't anticipate. And for me, I don't use astrology as a way to stop my life. So
Hmm.
when I decided that I was going to travel during Mercury retrograde, I knew I was probably gonna run into some issues, and so I ended up building a whole extra day on the back end of my trip just in case, like, what if I didn't make my flight home or what if something happened, etcetera. And so during the last Mercury retrograde, I was supposed to take a direct flight home to Kentucky, and I was supposed to be home at 4 p.m., and I ended up that day I got on 4 different planes for a direct flight. I was deboarded from all
Hmm.
4 planes, and I ended up not making it home till almost 3 a.m. But because I had the hindsight of knowing, like, this is gonna be a trickier travel day, like, I didn't have any plans for the next day. I knew I might not make it home that day, like, I already had that space in my schedule. So because I had
Hmm.
planned for it, I had the capacity for it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. And also, how can professionals leverage their rising sign to align better with career growth and also leadership style?
Yes. For those of you who don't know as much about astrology, your rising sign is kind of the starting point of your chart. In my opinion, it's one of the most important parts of your entire chart
Hmm.
because your rising sign is the filter that you move through the world with, and it's the perspective you have on the world, and it shapes people's first impressions of you. It shapes how you initiate things, and it really shapes the energy that people pick up on right away from you. So, thinking about that more in a professional setting, knowing that about yourself and knowing how you show up and how you naturally come across in meetings or interviews or leadership roles, when you have that awareness, you can lean into the strengths of that first impression. And you can also catch yourself if that's not the energy that you're wanting to lead with in whatever room that is. So for me, as a Sagittarius rising, it shows
Hmm.
up in how I kind of bring some big picture vision. I can bring a lot of enthusiasm into a room when I want to, but I also have to counter that a little bit of learning when to ground that down so it doesn't feel like too much at once too.
Hmm. Mine is Leo, and I have a few Sagittarian friends, and
Ooh.
I also focus on these zodiac sign whenever I meet somebody interesting, and I ask them like because we can figure out somebody like if it is Leo, Aries, and Sagittarian, and also Gemini. These are the four signs which I typically focus on. Okay,
Oh, see,
and
I focus on Scorpio. If you're a Scorpio, I'm like, "Come to me, I love you."
okay, and talking about the skeptics, right? Some people dismiss this astrology entirely. So, what do you say to them, especially who are in the science and medical community who dismiss astrology entirely?
I actually love skepticism and, being a nurse practitioner myself. I think it's a really good thing because if people are skeptics, it means they're asking questions and they're thinking about it and they're trying to lend perspective to it. And so for me, I don't really view astrology as competing with science, but really like using astrology as another framework for understanding patterns in people and behavior. So for me personally, I know it's not this way for all astrologers, but for me, it's really less about the prediction piece and more about the perspective piece. I love the perspective that it gives to me and my life and the people that I love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got it. And for those navigating career transitions or uncertainty, right? So, what role do you think astrology can play in gaining clarity?
Yeah. No, I actually found astrology myself when I was going through a really big career transition and trying to figure out like what am I doing next? What does my life look like next? And for me, I feel like astrology gives you a framework when things feel unclear or uncertain or you don't know what's going to happen next. And so it's not necessarily about having the script piece, but it's knowing where
Hmm.
your strengths are, when it is the right season to make a big move. And so, for example, when I found astrology, there was a lot of activations going on in my 10th house of my chart, which is the house associated with career. And so instead of seeing that as pressure, I just used it as almost like a permission slip to be like, "Oh, it's time to do something new." Like, my chart is even saying like, "Hey, let's do something new." So why don't I just lean into that energy? And so it really gave me something that I could kind of plan around instead of being scared of it.
Hmm. Yeah. Got it. And do you use astrology to hire, lead, or coach your team, or maybe for your clients as well?
I do not make hiring decisions based on signs because I don't think that would be fair, and there's so much nuance to every chart. But I
Hmm.
do use it to understand how my people work best. And so for me in particular, I love knowing the people around me, their Mercury sign, because that is how you communicate, and communication is so huge to me, and being able to work together, like, that's just an integral part of the day to day. But beyond communication style, knowing the Mercury, I love to look at their charts and be like, "Okay, what motivates them? What stresses them
Hmm.
out?" Because I feel like having that perspective lets me show up with a little bit more empathy, and I can also, because I've been doing this for long enough now, be like, "Oh, like, maybe they're going through a tough transit right now, but I know this is gonna end on X, Y, or Z," and giving people a space in that way too.
Excellent. So, Sarah, we have had an amazing conversation so far, and it's time for us to add some more excitement and some more spice to the episode, which means we need to dive into a series of intriguing second rapid fire questions just to spice up the episode. And if you're ready, let's dive in.
Alright, let's do it.
Okay, here comes my first bullet out of second rapid fire round. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
It would absolutely say, "You're not behind, you are right on time."
Oh, wow. You're not behind, you're right on time. Superb.
Right on
And
time,
can you
always.
describe, yeah, can you describe yourself in just one word?
This one's tough, but I'll go with resilient.
Resilient. And what is your rising sign and one weird trait it explains?
So being a Sagittarius rising, I cannot help but start conversations with strangers and, like, somehow walk away knowing their whole life story, but that's just me as a human, and I love that about myself, so,
And if you were to just keep only one between stethoscope or star chart, so which one would you like to have?
oh, Stethoscope's gotta go.
Okay. And one astrology myth you wish people would stop believing.
Oh my goodness, it is so much more than just sun signs, and if you hear nothing else from this episode, you should read horoscopes for your rising sign instead, and they'll be much more accurate.
Great. And a favorite guilty pleasure after a long day.
For me, guilty pleasure, it either is ice cream, my girl loves ice cream, or in reference to astrology is definitely pulling up someone's chart. Like, the minute I get their birth time, I'm like, "Oh, like, what are you? Let me tell you about you." Like, it's really fun for me.
And here comes the last one for the second rapid fire round. What is one electronic gadget or a fantasy gadget that you like to see or invent yourself?
I would love to have an astrology app that makes it more practical and more tangible. So maybe like something that kind of translates your chart into like a daily to-do list or a daily to-do and to-don't list.
I love it. I think then things will become predictable and also life will become easy as well, right?
Yeah,
All
that's the goal.
right. After that amazing second rapid fire, let's flip back to the mainstream. So, Sarah, tell us how your podcast, Cosmic Group Chat, came about and what is the mission behind your podcast?
So, in my previous company, my work wife that I hired, she kind of introduced me a little bit to astrology before I took the big deep dive. And so we were just having these conversations all the time. We've ended up becoming best friends about astrology and how that shows up in our lives and what the transits are doing and like how are we as humans using this as a mental health tool. And what I kept finding in the astrology space and kind of our mission here is to make astrology easy to use and easy to
Mhm.
digest because it gets so complex so fast. You feel like you can't wrap your head around it. And so for us, we're like, show up, hang out with us on this podcast, learn a little bit about astrology and apply a little tip here, a little tip there in your life and see how it works out. Um,
Mm,
and so, really, the whole goal is making it fun and making it easy to use.
yeah. Excellent. And I'm looking forward to tuning into your podcast. And folks, you'll find Sora's podcast link as well in the episode show notes and description. So do tune into that and learn more about astrology and what raising signs are going to say about you. And you can determine your future by yourself. And Sarah, thank you so much for joining me and having this wonderful conversation. And I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. And how is your experience being hosted on the Guiding Voice?
I've done a lot of podcasts. I really like the rapid fire thing. I know that would be intimidating for some people, but I think like that's so fun. So I've had a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to have you. And I wish you all the best. And thank you once again for spending time with us and sharing for sharing amazing insight. And thank you once again. All right. So, friends, that was our episode with Sarah Michelle Boes. And before we get into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request in case if you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful. Request you to share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV, the guiding voice, so spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. And it's time for us to cruise into the trivia segment of today's episode. So today's trivia is about the 2 lesser known and thought-provoking astrology facts. The first one is your birth chart can reveal career burnout patterns. Most people think astrology is just about predicting personality traits, but a deeper look into your 6th and 10th house placements can actually indicate how you handle work, stress, and your sense of duty. And when planets like Saturn, Mars, or Pluto are heavily involved, it can signal a higher risk for career related burnout. And knowing this can help you prevent it before it happens. And second fact is about astrology is not about fate, it's about foresight. You know, the raising sign doesn't just affect personality, it shapes first impressions in the workplace. We often hear about the sun signs, but your raising sign or the ascendant dictates how others perceive you in professional settings, almost like your energetic business card. For example, someone with a Capricorn raising may be seen as a disciplined and leadership ready, and even if their inner world, like sun or moon, is more sensitive. And knowing your sun sign is not just spiritual, it is strategic as well. So, likewise, if you have come across any interesting facts related to astrology, do let me know. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can comment there. Or if you have found this episode on audio platforms like Spotify, you can comment there as well. Or you can also share your comments through social media. So, folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. So, until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember, the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Take care. Love you all. Bye bye.